From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
With me now are Drs. Stephen Gamble and Patrice Caldwell. Dr. Gamble was president for 16 years, not too long ago, and Dr. Caldwell is the interim president of Eastern New Mexico University, and I'm happy to have both of you, by the way. Very good to have you on. And Dr. Gamble, we are here to talk about Bond C, which is coming up for an election in November, and it's a GEO bond, and people hear this GEO bond. I've asked people. I'd say, "Well, what's a GEO bond? Go bond?" Yeah. Anyway, would you explain to us what a GEO bond is?
Yes, sir. A general obligation bond, in our case, Bond C, is an opportunity for the voters to decide whether or not they want money to go to a specific object. In this case, the objective is to finance the upkeep and the well-being of the facilities on 33 campuses, public campuses in the state. The voters either vote yes or vote no. In the case of our bond, there's no tax increase. That's one of our major selling points. It's not a new tax. It does not increase an existing tax. So we think it gives the opportunity to the voters to help higher ed without taking anything out of their pocketbooks.
Okay, and for us, for all of us who live in the state, it's a chance for us to get more than just something that goes to a college campus. For instance, what goes on here in Portales when a bond building, a GEO bond building, is built?
Certainly, Dr. Caldwell is going to go into what project we have.
Yes,
but just for any of these 33 institutions,
Albuquerque,
yes, sir.
Las Cruces.
One is if they have a lodger's tax, they will see a lot of increase in that revenue. Gross receipts tax they will see. They're going to have the workers in that community for an extended period of time eating in the restaurants or taking out from the restaurants, one or the other, as well as doing their shopping, buying gas and things like that. So it's the local communities really benefit economically from this, not just the communities, but the surrounding counties as well.
And so jobs for local people as well.
Yes, sir. Based on how economists figure this is the $156 million on this bond will result in 1,500 additional jobs, as well as revitalize the economy of our construction sector.
I also heard that there'd be 90 jobs right here in this area.
That easily could be, yes, sir.
If it passes. What are some of the projects that were done here at Eastern in the past, Dr. Campbell, that you supervised or you looked after?
Well, yeah, looked after probably is a better way of putting it. No, not at all. Well, just starting with the facility we're in right here. The theater, which you're very familiar with, was funded by GEO Bond. The Science Center was funded. You know, we have two science centers. One of those was completely funded. Jack Williamson Liberal Arts Building, where we teach our English, our history, and our social sciences. There was also the grandest of them all was the learning center for our students, the Golden Student Success Center. We got that over 2 GEO bonds, and I'll tell you, it's like the rest of those. It's a marvelous facility.
And that, by the way, is really a very nice building.
Yes,
it's attractive, and it's attractive on the inside as well as on the outside.
Right, and another one we're very proud of is the music building. We took a great facade and a really good building, and we turned it into a state-of-the-art musical instruction facility.
Yeah, and I want to point out, I want to do this. Studs Terkel was on PBS one time, and they asked him what made America special, and he said, well, we take care of things here. So we maintain our buildings.
Stewardship, yes, sir.
And we update things. And other countries just kind of, they'll build something new and they just kind of let it fall apart. we keep it going. And I'm very proud of America because that's one of the things we do. And in New Mexico, the GEO bond is our way of keeping this state looking good, and they've done a wonderful job on this campus.
Yes, sir. I believe the state certainly has, not just our campus, but others. We also are in, this is a renovation bond. There's only one bit of new construction on this bond, and boy, it's important to the state. There's $30 million that will go to the University of New Mexico Health Science Center to construct a new nursing education facility. You know the need we have for nurses in the state, and the projected shortage, the current shortage and the projected shortage are just boggling.
Yes.
But they will be able to double the amount of nurses that they produce at UNM if this building is funded, and that's 30 million of this.
Very good. And we of course are agriculture on this side of the state, and there's great agriculture down on the southern end around Las Cruces, and Las Cruces is going to get some money to help with the agriculture program.
That's true, Don. Also in this bond is 18 million for New Mexico State to deal with to improve really their agricultural facilities, engineering facilities, and science facilities. And the ag is spread throughout the state. It's not just Las Cruces oriented, it's other communities as well. That is so important to New Mexicans.
Yes, I have gotten around the state a lot over the past many years, and it's interesting. You driving way up north in New Mexico, and you come across something that says New Mexico State, and you kind of look, and it's because they're doing experiments in all of these different places.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I think we all agree that that our students in this state need good facilities, good technology, good equipment to get a good education to go out there and compete with the graduates of any other school. That's what this bond is aimed at. It's aimed at facilities for our students.
You and I have seen this happen through our lives. I remember when very few people, percentage-wise in the United States, even got a bachelor's degree. And now, if you want to work, you have to have some sort of higher education.
That is very true, and the forecast going into the future is even more need for at least a associate or baccalaureate degree to be entry level to get to what job you want.
Well, you mentioned the nursing school, and we certainly have run into a situation now in New Mexico, in the United States, where we need more people in the medical end of things.
Oh, we're seeing that now, yes, sir.
We have my younger friends, the baby boomers, and they're they're going to need lots of help in terms of nursing, those kinds of things, and it's important that they're prepared for that. It's wonderful that they are. And as I looked at the list, you can go to just about any part of the state, and this particular GEO bond will have something for each of these schools, something up in Clovis.
We cover every corner of it, yes. And again, I think Dr. Caldwell is going to speak to that, but 33 public institutions in the state, including the tribals, including the specialty schools, the community colleges, and the 4 years. All of us have something on this bond to make our facilities better.
Very good. Dr. Caldwell, tell us what we're going to get, what we're going to be able to do if the bond passes.
Well, thank you for asking, Don. We're really excited about the opportunities this GEO bond presents to the Eastern system. Money will come to our campus in Ruidoso and Roswell for infrastructure projects that are really critical to health and safety, lighting and plumbing and electrical and things that, you know, you really need money to do and you really need money to maintain. So those are maintenance sorts of grants of money for those two branches, and very, very important to Chavez and to Lincoln County. In Roosevelt County, our classic Roosevelt Science Center is going to get a really well-needed facelift. As you may recall, it was a dormitory. It was converted in the 70s into a science building, and it still needs a little work, and we're going to have $8 million from the GEO bond to put toward infrastructure and to the renovation of Roosevelt Science Center. The building itself already has some plans drafted that the faculty have seen, and they'll be working on additional planning. But it's a tough challenge to convert a residence hall into a science building. And there were, elevation changes and 1-story, 2-story, 3 stories. So it takes a little planning to do that. But I think it's going to be a marvelous facility. It's going to serve the community, and it's going to serve our science students very, very well.
Very good. Over the years, by the way, having worked at a television station, the science buildings, the 2 different buildings, were always the other buildings on campus that had as much to do with electronics, engineering, all of those kinds of things. And
Absolutely. Roosevelt serves students who are in biology, chemistry, forensic science. The nursing students are online, but all of our undergraduates take science courses, and the faculty are housed in Roosevelt. And of course, that makes it a crossing zone for students consulting with their professors. And when their professors are doing research, students are in those labs with them up on the 2nd and 3rd floor of Roosevelt. So it's a really important hub of activity for our students and our faculty. And on the 1st floor, I think most school children in our area have been to the Natural History Museum and visited the live exhibits. And that's just another element that connects us to our community, that I think every school child in Portales has gone through that museum and gone to the Miles Mineral Museum. So these are ways that our science education program reaches into the schools and into the community.
It's important that the students have the kinds of things that the major science people working on medicine, going to space, all of these different things, they have the same kind of facilities. We do that here with television and with digital film. And I'm sure that the science people need to keep everything up to date. They change. We've changed cameras now, and I bought the original cameras that we put in the studio, and we needed new ones. Things changed.
Technology is always changing, and probably more rapidly in communications sector and in sciences. We have some wonderful researchers who they come to Eastern because they want to work with students. They are willing to share their labs and their insights and their publications with the students who work beside them. And I think that's unique about Eastern, and it's why this is such an important project to us to make those opportunities available to all of our students. You don't have to go to UNM to have a first-class opportunity to do research with a publishing scholar.
And let's point out to all of our viewers that they're getting benefits too, right there in the town they live in, because the graduates, we have some graduates that have gone on to do some really, really special things.
We have sent graduates to medical school, to veterinary school, of course to PhD programs. They've worked at Sandia, they've worked all over the state. I think it's a tribute to Portales that we have students who come here and then go on and do great things for the state. They couldn't do it, though, without the facilities that the GeoBond funds and the faculty in those facilities and just higher education that makes it real for students, that makes those opportunities available for all of us.
We mentioned the Student Success Center, and I think the university did a wonderful job with that in keeping us up with other schools around the country. In case there are people out there that don't know this is happening everywhere. All of the colleges and universities across the country all are working very hard to keep up, and it's good when the people of New Mexico support something like the Bond C issue and help us with that.
The students who come to us are more technologically literate than any of the faculty, and the faculty are very proud that students have that technological knowledge. And I think the more we can enable them to use that technology and be comfortable with it. It makes them very competitive in the workforce. And then it allows us, because, you know, when the faculty see that students know that and they need it, well, then they learn it and they want to do the next step. And I think it's a wonderful collaboration between the two. And it's been really fun to watch, and it's going to be very fun to see what new things we can bring into science pedagogy when we have a new facility.
That's great. When when things kind of get back together, we're going to play these during the COVID period of the United States. I think it'll be called that. Dr. Gamble, you're a historian. I think
That's probably its name.
We'll
yes.
have a COVID time or
Right.
something. But when things get back to going, it's important for students to be together with the instructor to learn things, isn't it?
The science faculty would certainly agree with that. Hands-on applications are really the bread and butter of science and many other disciplines as well. I think to have the opportunity of working in a lab with the proper protection and guidance, that it's an irreplaceable educational experience. And without it, it's not science. It's certainly theoretically well-based and students are well prepared, but without that hands-on experience, it's just not the same experience. So we really hope to be back all together again. But meanwhile, I have to say that online education has advanced tremendously in just the short period of time that it's become a sort of national movement. There are more ways to personalize education now with technology, to do one-on-one conversations, group work. It's much more interactive than the old days of, you know, still, you know, shots of people jerkily moving around. So everything has, I think technology has really helped the educational enterprise. Now, can it replace the hands-on and the face-to-face and those interactions and conversations with your peers and with faculty? It can never do that. But it's trying very hard. And my goodness, Microsoft and the Zoom technology, and it's impressive how widespread that is and ubiquitous now.
It's very good. Getting back to another type of technology, though, plumbing in a science building.
Yes.
It is very important. I remember being quite surprised as a student going into the science building here on the Eastern Campus the first time, and there were these showers out in the hall. I mean, that's kind of what it looked like. Well, it's a safety factor.
Absolutely.
And they work with acid.
Yes.
In sciences and particularly in chemistry. There are other dangerous things that people do in other science classes. And if you spill anything, if you need to get washed off, boom, you run down the hall, pull this chain.
Yes. Yes.
And all that has to be taken care of.
Yes.
Everybody's got to have a Bunsen burner. It doesn't matter what class you're in. You know,
Yes,
you do
Don,
lots
don't
of
think
things.
we call them that anymore, but yes, we do. And in fact, your point about safety is extremely important. Not just the abating of chemical spills, but just distilled water for experiments. I mean, science buildings are complicated entities. Air turnover has to happen at a greater rate in a science building. You're storing things in formaldehyde. You have to ventilate that kind of room differently. You have to have fume hoods for doing any kind of experiment that needs to have controlled airspace around it. So you're right. It's a very technical enterprise to renovate a science building, and it is very safety conscious. OSHA and all the other protocols have to be observed, and we will be observing them.
This will help us keep up with all those other
Absolutely.
schools around the country. And whenever we can, we like to encourage our students to stay here in the state. And I changed the subject quite a bit, but not all the way. But our fine arts department, I don't believe there's a child in band on the whole east side of New Mexico that isn't working with a teacher that has been trained at Eastern New Mexico University.
Eastern's footprint in the fine arts is really a credit to that college, and particularly in music.
Well, we need to take a little time here and remind people that what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage you to vote, right? We're not telling you how to vote, but we are telling you that we want you to vote, and we want you to find Bond C on your on the information they give you. But Dr. Gamble, can you go over the dates for us? You have.
Oh, certainly. I might mention also that it's the last thing on the ballot. If they turn the ballot over, there's Bond C. And I might mention right before it is Bond B for libraries. They would get $10 million if that passed. That would go to city, county, and higher education facility libraries. So those are important. But early voting starts on the 17th of October, but absentee, if you can send off and get a ballot, begins on the 6th of October, and of course November 3rd is actual voting day. Mm-hmm. Again, I just want to stress the no tax increase part of that. Our students and the higher ed institutions will benefit greatly from this, and our taxpayers will not see their property taxes rise any.
Very good, very good. Patrice, this city is really hurt by this COVID thing, and of course all cities have been, all the way from New York City down to Portales, this kind of thing. Can you give us a little bit of encouragement? Are we expecting more youngsters to get here come January?
We are. We have some students with us now who are completing clinicals, and so they're in apartments and they're masking and they're being good citizens. But by January, we're really hoping the virus will flatten out, and that maybe we'll have some ways of, better testing, quicker testing. But we really do want to be back on campus in the spring. We know the community needs us. We want to be there for the community, and really, we want the whole nation to go back to school. That's where those students need to be, and it's where they want to be.
Yeah, we also have students, by the way, working with us today.
Yes, you do.
And helping to make this program possible. And that's always going to be a part of education. I always think of education as such started with Socrates, and he's there teaching Pluto.
Yeah.
Pluto. That little dog runs around following Mickey. Anyway, and he taught. We ended up with Alexander the Great, but it always has to do with teachers, and the teachers inspire the students, and the students go on and do wonderful things. The wonderful things that we're seeing going on in our country today, and it'll be one of those wonderful students that comes up with a vaccination for COVID-19,
Yes.
and we'll all go back to living like real Americans.
Yes.
That's what we're looking forward to. Well, I want to thank both of you very much for being here, and thank you, Dr. Gamble, for walking away from relaxing in retirement and coming over and having to do a little duty again.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Don. I appreciate it very much.
You're certainly welcome. And thank you, Dr. Caldwell. You were about to retire, and you stepped into what I think was one of the biggest challenges anybody's ever received.
You're right there.
And
I won't disagree.
No,
no.
Thank you, Don.
And
it's my pleasure.
So we do appreciate your being here. Okay. And thank you for watching.